Welcome to Soup Crafts. I'm Soup, and today we're going to open door number 13. Looks like door number 13 is to another embossing folder. Well, let's go ahead and pull this out of here. I'm going to try to see if I can come up with a way to use this on an ATC. And when I do, I'll come back and we'll make a project. Okay, I'm back with a project for our embossing folder from day 13. Here's what we're going to make. I went ahead and rounded the corners on my cards, and I have pre-stamped because I used a pigment ink and I wanted to let it dry. You can see on this one it got a little smeary, but I'm just going to go with it for now. That sentiment came from this stamp set called Jump for Joy from Spellbinders. It's one of my favorite stamp sets. I love to use these little frogs. I use them all the time. So I'll set those aside for now. I've got this little frog, and the little frog came from this Karen Burniston die set called Leaping Animals. I've also made a couple with the bunny. So any one of these really would probably work for this. But I especially liked the frog. So I've got a frog that I cut out. Now Karen Burniston's dies come with kind of a stencil already built in. So I'm going to take a green marker. I just have a Sharpie fine tip, and I'm just going to color in the little spots. And I'll take a black Sharpie, same thing, fine tip, and color in the mouth. And then this is what we end up with. There's another little piece to cut out the backs of the eyes. Got the same stencil piece to be able to color in the blacks of the eyes, so I've already done that. Now I'll just glue that on. And our little froggy's ready to go. The paper that I'm using is a watercolor paper from the Paper Studio. I think that I got this at Hobby Lobby. It wasn't very expensive. It's only $10.99 for 50 sheets, and it is really heavy. It's got the 5 different colorways, and there's 10 of each sheet. I used it both for the cards and for the frogs, and I used it for our embossing folder. Now to run this through, I just took the embossing folder and put it on this side and ran it through, and then I put it on this side and ran it through. I did kind of try to line up the end as best that I could, but I think it's a little bit off, but it won't matter because we don't have to use that part. Next, what I'm going to do with this is I have this dauber that has a sanding disc on it, and I am just going to sand off the tops. And it's just a very light pressure on here. It does make a mess. It almost looks like a stencil was used with paste. It is pretty messy. I'm going to take a Swiffer dry duster and just wipe that off and then clean up my whole area with that. I love the illusion that this gives of a faux mixed media, almost like you've used paste through a stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these. Now I want the edge cut off here, so I'm first just going to cut off this little tiny piece. And then I'm going to cut a 2.5, but I'm going to go just a little bit wider than 2.5 just to make sure that I have good coverage on my card. And then we'll do that again. Okay, now I'm going to use my mat to help me align these. I've put the cards on the 1/2 inch mark, and I'm just going to align my embossed piece with the solid line across. And I am going to try to get it even on one side so that if there's any hangover, it's only on one side. Now, if you don't like this flat edge along here, you could cut that off even with the petals there. It doesn't bother me in the least, so I'm just going to leave it. Okay, now I'm going to add my frog. Okay, now I just need to cut off the overhang, and these are done. This one didn't cut real well, so I'm just going to grab out my sanding block. That also makes a bit of a mess, so I'm just going to bring back out my Swiffer. And there we go. Here are the other cards that I made and the 2 that we made together today. And in addition, I made one little froggy with a wobbler. They're not very good wobblers, so I tried to make a few more, but they broke. And then I made a couple with bunnies. So there we have it. That's our project for today. And to any of you who have liked, commented, or subscribed, you make me jump for joy. Thanks for watching. Bye.